Do the people on financial subreddits know what they're talking about? We're going to find out in this video because I've actually done financial independence retire early. We're going to be reviewing the financial independence flowchart and seeing whether it's good or not, because people only follow the most popular opinion or the one that is backed by the most amount of experts. However, finance is a little contrarian, so it does get a little muddy like that. I feel like people on Reddit wouldn't know what to do if $100 showed up under their door because they just would refuse to believe it ever happens. So let's get right into it. We're going to look at what the FIRE spreadsheet is going to be like. And we're going to start from the top. They sectioned it off into a couple sections, section 0 all the way down to section 6. So it starts from like immediate needs, emergencies, and then goes down in priority after that. And it shows what to do with it. So just as a disclaimer, they say that this is not an absolute rule to follow. So obviously we're going to find a little discrepancies in there just because of that. So if that's something you're interested in, we should probably go through this. I remember reading a version of this a long time ago. It said that the first version was in 2019, but I'm pretty sure in like 2016, I read something very similar to this and it was pretty solid, but there were some things I disagreed with and I did differently in my life. And I'll go over why I did that and hopefully you can relate more of this to your personal situation. So first things first, they say in section D, budget and essentials, create a budget. So fundamental to a sound financial footing is knowing where your money is going. Budgeting helps you see your sources of income, less your expenses. So yeah, 100%. If you've never done a budget before, you have to do it. Right now, I don't use any budgets anymore because it's kind of just ingrained in my mind now. But in the beginning, definitely for sure, I was counting everything. I was like, holy cow, I spent so much in this. What can I do to reduce that? Or like, maybe I could spend a little more on this. I'm not really doing so much in that. And spending a little more in that category would help my life out a ton. So definitely need to do that if you've never done it before. I made my first one in college and I actually budgeted to eat takeout every single meal because I was like, yeah, I'm not cooking. Let me spend my whole paycheck. But yeah, reality hit me quite quickly when I started my first day. So next up is pay rent/mortgage. Makes sense. After that, buy food/groceries. Okay. First disagreement. Now that I think about it, you should probably buy food and groceries before doing any of this. So before creating a budget, before paying your rent or mortgage, like buy food and water. You cannot live without it. But this is being nitpicky here. But that's what this website's all about, right? They do mention here that it does depend on the severity of your situation and needs. But yeah, food's the most important thing. After that, pay essential items, utilities, power, water, heat, toiletries, etc. Makes sense. Pay income earning expenses. So this is going to be your car. This is going to be your internet. This is going to be your phone, anything that you need to earn income. And then they say pay healthcare. So if it's health insurance, I would say this goes much later. But if it's health expenses, like say you broke your arm, you're in the hospital and they won't serve you unless you like pay up money or something like that. I don't think that's legal in the US, but if that's like a weird scenario you're in, then yeah, you have to pay for it, right? But I think health could be pushed a little later, especially the insurance. Like insurance is such a scam, but like most people get it from their employer, so it's not a big deal. And the reason why it's a scam is because there are a lot of people in the US who just don't take care of themselves. So if you don't use your insurance, you're essentially losing out on it because you're just paying premiums for no reason. So unless you have some chronic disease or have a lot of pre-existing conditions, insurance generally is not worth it. Because even if you get an emergency room visit once every like 5 years or something like that, the amount of premiums you pay would more than cover those visits. So it's like, it is what it is, you know. America is also one of the most like unhealthiest nations in the world. And people wonder why it costs so much, right? But that's a whole different topic for another day. After that, make minimum payments on all debts and loans, student loans, credit cards, etc. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty solid for like the first section. I'm trying to think of all the big ones so far. Yeah, it's just like paying for necessities and then getting rid of high interest debt or like minimum payments on debt so you don't like lose your house or something if you have one. One thing to note, this does not include your age, so you do have to factor that in mind. Obviously, if you are 20 years old, you're probably not going to have a mortgage that you need to pay off, you know. After that, let's get into the employer match and emergency fund. This is section 1. So after you take care of all the basics, you're alive, let's start going into the actual like sort of fun money. So build a small emergency fund. I personally don't really believe in emergency funds, but I guess if you're in that situation, you probably should build one. So for me, like I had zero money at one point, but I blew past the 1,000 threshold really quickly because I just saved everything very religiously. But yeah, hopefully this point doesn't last that long for you. It depends how much you're making, depends how much you're spending. So if you're not making a lot, definitely try to live in an area that doesn't cost a lot, because I know a lot of people, they don't make that much and they live in major cities and they wonder why they don't have money. So only live in a big city. If you really love that life and don't mind being broke, or if you actually have a good job there. Evaluate your non-essentials and reduce your expenses if you can. Otherwise, pay any non-essential bills in full, cable, internet, phone, etc. I thought we already paid for that, but I guess look at all your random subscriptions, try to reduce it. I did like a subscription video a while back. I'll leave a card up here in case you all are interested in that. It covers a lot of non-essential expenses and how much you can make if you invested in those companies instead of keeping that money. Pretty interesting video to me, so definitely check that out if you want. Keep track of all your expenses. This can help you understand where your expenses are going and where to cut expenses when applicable. I thought we were already doing that, so this is a little repetitive so far, but that's all good. Consider making an investment policy statement. Oh my God. All right. Just don't be stupid. Okay, that's your investment policy statement. All right, like, what do these even entail? Let me look it up. So essentially, it's a way to identify your investment objectives, risk tolerances, time horizon, asset allocation, all that nonsense. But like, you should just already be doing that, and it kind of changes over time, right? I guess it's like if you really need to follow a plan and you don't want to deviate from it ever, and you can't use your brain 10 years from now to try to like reevaluate this new situation, I guess make one. Like, it's not for me. Does your employer offer a retirement account with an employer match? If yes, contribute the amount needed to get the full employer match, nothing above that amount. If not, pay all high interest debt, yada, yada. So this one's a little funny because when I was working and I was getting like pretty good gains in the beginning, I actually did this experiment. I was like, what if, or like what rate of return would I need to get to have it be more worth it to have an after-tax account than matching my employer match? So I know doing your employer match gets you like 100% return right away. However, the one caveat is that you can only invest in things available in your 401k or 403b, which generally are just going to be ETFs and mutual funds. And those, they have like pretty decent results. I'm not going to say they're bad, but they're like average, right? So I was wondering, like, would Warren Buffett have the match? So I did the math. Warren Buffett actually beats the S&P 500 even if you start with double the amount at the very beginning at a little after 7 years, which is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, we're not Warren Buffett. I'm not Warren Buffett. You're not Warren Buffett. So do the match, you know, like, but it was just a fun exercise to kind of think about because I was like getting absolute insane gains early on in my investing career. So next up, we have pay all high interest debt, double the prime interest rate and above debts and loans. Yeah, so this one you have to use your brain a little bit because what is high interest debt? Is it anything higher than 10%? Is it anything higher than 5%? Is it any debt at all? So the way Dave Ramsey approaches it, which is very idiot proof, it's even more idiot proof than this, is he just says pay off every single debt possible, which again, it's really easy to follow. So I wish in the spreadsheet there is a way to do this a little, why can't I talk right now? There is a way to look at this a little bit easier. They say double the prime interest rate, but it changes so often that sometimes it's a little difficult. So how strictly are you supposed to follow it? So I just asked ChatGPT what the prime interest rate is. They say it's 8.5% right now. So double that would be around like 17%. So if you have a debt of 12%, are you really not going to pay it off? That boggles my mind. I think an easier way to do it is just look at the returns you expect to get from your investments, because it also depends on how long your time horizon is. So if you have a long time horizon, which if you're investing for your entire life, like it's pretty much your whole life, right? It's going to be dependent on your age, but like average age is what, like 80 or something like that. So whatever 80 minus your age is, like that's a pretty long time if you're watching this video. I'm guessing no one's like 70 and watching this video. It'd be kind of cool though. But what that means is risk is not that big of a deal for most people because you have so much time for your investments to catch up based on whatever volatility or like downswings that they experience, that in the long run, it should kind of equal out. So the way I like to think about it is if I have an interest rate that's higher than whatever my investment rate is, I would always pay off that debt. So if you think the S&P 500 is going to return 9%, historically it's been like that, at least like the geometric returns. Everything above 9%, you should definitely pay off. And then everything at 9%, you should also pay off because those gains from paying off debt are pretty much risk-free. After that, it only gets tricky between like 7 and 9% or like 6 and 9% because those areas, it's like, if you look at like risk-adjusted returns, which is things like alpha, sortini, whatever you want to do, like generally they are like pretty good risk-adjusted returns because again, it's like a guaranteed 8% is better than a volatile 9% in most cases. But again, in the super long run, if you want to focus on like absolute returns, investing theoretically is a little bit better. But obviously it depends on the economic environment and whatnot. But I believe in a previous video, I said like pay everything above 9% for sure, evaluate everything between around like 5 and 9%, and then anything below 5%, generally don't pay. It depends on the interest rates, obviously, because if current interest rates are like much lower or something like that, or much higher, it kind of changes what you want to do. So maybe I should develop a way that kind of relates to the prime interest rates, but I mainly check out interest rates relative to rates of returns on investments, because those are like the two things you choose between. You always think of stuff like, oh, I need the net present value of everything that I do. And to do that, you look at all your different opportunities. Your main one's going to be investing. The other one's going to be paying down debt. So I just compare those two. Do you have stable or unstable job prospects? So if you're unstable, increase emergency funds to 6 to 12 months living expenses. Use a high yield savings account that is FDIC insured, or multiple rotating CD account of monthly expenses. I guess you could do that. High yield savings accounts, they don't yield that much, but I guess it's better than nothing. If you do have like a truly unstable job, then like, yeah, have an emergency fund for like half a year to a year, but you could also just like reduce your expenses by a ton. I think that's easier to do. After that, if you have stable, increase emergency funds to 3 months, and then use high yield savings account or FDI, same thing, or put them in low risk assets in a brokerage account or a mixture of both. I don't really use emergency funds, but I guess I'm kind of beyond this stage. So once you get like a ton of savings, like let's say you have a net worth of like 10 years living expenses or whatever, you don't really need an emergency fund anymore, because you can just sell securities or sell investments in order to like fund your emergencies. It's not going to drop down like 99%. If it does, like the world's doomed anyways. So we don't really care about that scenario. Now we're going to go into the next section. This one is going to be titled debt reduction. All right, debt reduction is very important. Do you have any moderate interest debt? So remaining debt above the prime interest rate. So I'm assuming you already took care of credit cards before over here. So what would these be? These might be like car loans that just happen to have high interest rates. These could be student loans, maybe, things like that. So if yes, see if you could reduce the high interest rates to a lower one. Oftentimes, if you just email or like contact whoever owns your debt and say like, oh, I'm having some trouble, sometimes they reduce it, sometimes they don't, but it's worth asking, you know. You never know if you never try. And then after that, pay off the highest interest rate first and then subsequently the others. Okay, very, very, very nice. I want to give them a round of applause. So a lot of people, they advocate for doing the snowball method for paying off debt versus the avalanche method. So this guide says the avalanche method, and I definitely agree with that because, again, I only look at rates, and the highest rate debt is going to cost me the most. So you just want to pay that off first. The snowball method is much different. You pay off your lowest amount of debts no matter what the interest rate is, so that you get some mental feel goods as you're paying your debts off and off. The issue with that is, again, you just have less money at the end of the day after you pay everything off. So I don't really think it's that optimal, but I'm glad that the Reddit guide says the optimal one, which is the avalanche one. The reason why people do the snowball one is because mentally it helps them, and they think finance is a mental game, or personal finances, and to some extent it is, but like just suck it up, make it like not a mental game, make it a math game, and then you'll just have more money at the end of the day. It's really like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Do you want more money or not? That's the whole point of doing this. All right, next we're in the purple section, which is health savings account. Ooh, I really love these. I have one personally. My company had a great health savings account because they actually just gave me, I think it was like almost $1,000 just for having the account, and my HSA plan was free. It cost me $0. So I pretty much got paid to have health insurance from that company, which was really, really wild if you think about it. But obviously the plan covers nothing. But evaluate what kind of medical insurance is suited for your well-being and frequency of health-related visits. So this is super, super important. There are a lot of people out there that really take advantage of their health insurance. And in those cases, get one of the good plans. Don't get an HSA one, because if you get an HSA one, these ones cover pretty much nothing because they're high deductible plans. So you have to pay your entire deductible first before the plan starts taking effect. So if you have like tons of health issues, just get a regular plan and just have your insurance pay for everything. But if you're a healthy person, you take care of yourself, you don't have any pre-existing conditions from before, definitely do the HSA plan, because it's like, wow, it's so worth it. You just get free money, right? One thing to note, that if you are younger than 26, you are eligible to be on your parents' health insurance. I've never done this personally, but some of my friends have, and it worked out really well for them, but not everyone can do that. So do you have a HSA high deductible plan? and are thus eligible for an HSA. If your employer also matches or contributes to this account, in general, if you're a healthy individual with little to no frequent health-related visits, an HDHP plan might be preferable. So yeah, exactly what I said before. If you are healthy, get the HSA because like the plans are super cheap and you get an HSA. HSAs are like super IRAs or super 401ks, if that makes sense. It combines the benefits of traditional plus Roth, which is absolutely bonkers. The one caveat is that you can only use those funds on health-related expenses, except if you reach a certain age, I believe it converts into a traditional IRA. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it does that. However, since medical care is so expensive, you eventually will have a need for this money. If you get cancer, you have like a $500,000 treatment plan or something like that, like yeah, your HSA is gonna get used up, right? So it's like, it's a good thing to have and pretty much just max it out. You could use it for a lot of different things. You could use it to buy like sunscreen, contacts, glasses, pretty much any health related thing you could use on your HSA. There's like a list on the IRS website of stuff you're allowed to buy with it. And as long as you take a picture of the receipt, I think that's good enough. Not an accountant, but that's what I've read up before. So definitely max it out because it's like the most tax advantage account you can ever have. I guess there's one caveat which they mention here, and that is, does your employer's HSA account have high fees? This really bothers me because it should be illegal if your company uses some other company that has like super high fees to do anything in your retirement accounts. Like it just shouldn't be allowed. Because Fidelity exists, they have like pretty much no fees in all their accounts that I've ever had with them. If your employer is using some like third-rate company to run your HSA and then you have to pay like $25 every time you do something, like that is so disgusting. Like, I'm sorry if anyone has that, but like I've heard horror stories about this before. I know a lot of 401ks that some people have, they force you to pick like a huge fee fund. One of my friend's sisters, she had a 401k and each of the funds that she paid into all had like front loading fees of like, I think it was like 5 or 10%. It's absolutely like highway robbery and that should not be legal, but I don't make the rules, you know? If they have no fees, keep HSA contributions in your employer account. Make sure you enroll in investing portion when you reach the minimum. I don't know if I read that second sentence correctly, but whatever. If available, roll over your HSA contributions to another low-fee HSA brokerage. Did not know you could do that, but I guess since I never had to do that, I never found out, but I guess you could. Obviously, research this a little more if you are in that situation. But yeah, HSAs, it's like the God's gift to retirement accounts. So now we're on to the green section. This one is, I'm assuming, going to deal with all the other retirement accounts. Yeah, IRAs, things like that. So do you have earned income? Special circumstance. For beginners, if it is before tax filing date around April 15th and you had earned income in the previous year, you can contribute to an IRA, Roth or traditional, for only the previous calendar year. If previous calendar year has been funded or it is past tax filing date, contribute to an IRA for the current calendar year to get a head start. Right now, date of recording, it is October, but let's pretend it was March and you're filing your taxes or whatever. You could contribute for both last year and this year at the same time. It's like a nice little hack if you've never done it before, but I'm assuming most people have done it. Do you have earned income? No. So I'm kind of in this situation right now because I'm invested in a lot of other stuff, and it just skips to the next section. All right. Let's go back into the yes part then. So contribute to an IRA. IRAs are just retirement accounts that you could do on your own. You don't really need to use your employer or anything, but it's pretty good account because there are tax benefits similar to the 401k. So calculate your adjusted modified gross income. So if you are single making more than 138k or married more than 218k, max out traditional IRA and convert it to Roth IRA. This is colloquially known as the backdoor Roth. Be aware of the pro rata rule. So what is the pro rata rule? A lot of people like the backdoor IRAs. There's also something called the super mega backdoor IRA, but that's a topic for a different day. Essentially what you do is you put your money into a traditional IRA, but pay for it with after tax money. And then once the cash is settled, you convert that traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. And this works all fine and dandy if you have zero in your traditional IRA. It only gets confusing if you have a balance there. So let's say you roll over to your traditional 401k from your previous employer, and let's say you have 50 grand now in a traditional IRA. You cannot do the backdoor method without hitting the pro rata rule, which I've heard is a disaster. So pretty much everyone I've heard who has told me about this says just convert your entire traditional IRA into a Roth IRA to avoid the pro rata rule completely. And I guess I'm going to do that this year because I have a traditional IRA, so I don't want to do the pro rata rule. I don't even know what it is, to be honest. Everyone that's told me about this has said just convert it because it's going to be so much easier if you do that. So another way to avoid this issue that I have is not converting your 401k into a IRA. And that way you don't reach the pro rata rule. So two different ways to approach it. But if you are single between 73K and 138 or married 116 and 218, max out your Roth IRA. Yeah, I guess you could. You could do traditional as well. Like either or works. I don't know why people are obsessed with Roth IRAs, but with 401ks, they typically do traditional. It's a little weird. I feel like you should like only do one or the other, and that depends on whatever your tax situation is. If you think you're going to pay more taxes in the future, do a Roth and for both 401ks and your IRAs. And then if you think you're going to pay more taxes now than in the future, do a traditional, because then you avoid taxes now and pay the taxes later. So if you expect not to make money for like most of your retirement, and that's most people out there, traditional is pretty easy. But if you are going to make money, do the Roth, because everything that grows in your Roth accounts are just going to be tax-free. So it's kind of nice. There's also a psychological trick that people like to employ. They only do Roth accounts because that way their overall total net worth is a little lower than they think it is. So let's say you have like $1 million in a traditional 401k versus $1 million in a Roth 401k. Obviously, the Roth 401k has more money because you don't have to pay taxes on it. However, that situation won't happen in an equal scenario. 1 million account traditional 401k, another person has like a 750,000 Roth 401k. And in which case the guy with 750 is like, I need to save more because I'm not a millionaire yet. And then they do it, even though they probably have the same amount of money as the other person. These are all estimates, but it's just something to think about. If you accidentally contributed into a Roth IRA while you cannot due to IRS limits, you can perform a recharacterization. Yeah, so don't make the mistake so you don't have to deal with that. Okay, if you're single making less than 73K or married making less than 116K, there's a special situation. Oh, these are just the income ranges for 2023. Yeah, it changes every year, so you have to keep up with it. But do you expect your future income to be greater than the IRS threshold? If yes, be aware of the pro rata rule, where if you have traditional IRA, it'll be taxed proportionally when performing rollovers. Evaluate if you should max out your Roth instead of your traditional. If no, max out your traditional IRA and then move down here. So I guess they did distinguish between traditional and the Roth. So the reason why I consider both is because we don't really know what taxes are going to be like in the future, because it depends what the politicians do. So I'm on the boat where I think they're going to raise taxes. So Roth is probably going to be better for me. But if they lower taxes, then traditional is probably going to be better. Also, if you don't make any money in your retirement, traditional is fine too. There's a way to actually make tax-free 100K a year if you're married. I covered this in a very old video before, but essentially, I never personally cared about retirement accounts because I know of this method. So if you make only capital gains of 83,000 and then you make regular wages of 25,000 or 26,000, depends on the year, you just pay zero in taxes. You could look at the summary here. You could set up hypothetical tax scenarios on any tax software. I'm using TaxAct right now, but it doesn't really matter what you use. And I have 83K of taxable income, but I pay zero in taxes because the way it works is you have a 0% capital gains rate for up to 41,000 around there for single filers and 80-some thousand for married people. And then you also have the standard deduction. So you technically could make 109K in 2022 just because you did everything correctly. So in those cases, this is treated pretty much exactly like a Roth account, except you just can't make money later. But that's kind of why I never really cared that much about retirement accounts, because there's that method to like get tax-free money, which is essentially what we're trying to do here with all these like min-maxing. So that takes us all the way down here into the blue section. Blue section is going to be ESPPs, additional savings, and maximizing your tax advantage accounts. All right, so I'm guessing they're going to say max out your 401k. Does your employer offer an employee stock purchase program? If yes, evaluate if you should contribute into it. Typically, if you have a 15% discount and it's immediately vested, then it's encouraged to buy and sell immediately. So a lot of times, I believe there is a lockup period. I think it's around like a couple months or something like that, where they give you the discounted stock, you buy it, and then you have to wait like 1 or 2 months. And generally, it is worth it to do as long as your company isn't complete dog. But typically, if you believe in efficient market hypothesis, I don't, but you have to assume that like most securities out there are generally fairly priced. And if that's the case, you do just get a 15% discount. So you almost should do it always. But again, if you work at like a horrible company and you know it's horrible, then probably don't, but if you like your company, if it's a good company, then do it. And especially if it vests immediately. I've not heard of that, but I'm guessing some people have. Typically the ones that I've had and the ones I've known other people to have, there's like a 1 month or like couple month lockup period, sometimes like even longer than that, before you can sell it. So there's some risk involved, but if you have a company that doesn't lock it up at all, then yeah, just buy it and sell it immediately and then do anything else with it. Are you expecting any large required purchases or personal investments in the near future, 3 to 5 years, such as college, certifications, a car, etc.? All right. So if you do have that, they say to save the amount needed for these expenses in a high yield savings account or a 529 plan if it is related to educational expenses. So I don't really think you should put it in a high yield savings account. The reason why is you're missing out on a lot of gains if you do that. If it's, say, like 1 year from now, let's say you've been saving for a while and then you want to buy a house in the next year, then yeah, put your money in a high yield savings account, not the stock market. But if it's 3 to 5 years, like you're missing out on a ton. I personally wouldn't do that, but it's a free country. Do whatever you want. But they say if you're a W-2 employee, finish maxing out your tax advantage accounts, your 401k with your employer. Many on the FIRE path prefer pre-tax accounts and then converting it or withdrawing it during years when we are in a lower tax bracket. Yeah, that's what I thought I would do. But if you think about it, like, unless you're fat firing is like, if you made like $20 million selling a company or something like that, and you're just like on vacation 24/7, you're probably gonna be making money like throughout your life, even if you don't want to. So let's say if you're on like a regular income, let's say you're making like 50 to maybe like 70K a year, you're doing FIRE the normal way. And then right as you retire, you start up one of your hobbies or something like that. Let's say you always wanted to own like a flower shop or something like that. You'll be making some money. So that means that a lot of this tax-free stuff doesn't really apply to you because you still will have an income, even if it's like doing something for fun. But unless you're truly doing like zero income, you have to think about what the best scenario is going to be. I personally thought I would have zero income, but then I have this gaming stuff, I have this other YouTube stuff, and I am making money whether I like it or not. So because of that, it kind of messed up my like tax gain harvesting that I wanted to do. So I kind of have to delay that, you know? It's a little weird. It's like a privilege if you want to think about it, because that means I had like too much money. But what I've come to learn is that like you have to be doing something, right? Even if you're playing like golf or chess every day, like there's going to be some money coming in from some random source that you don't realize, because like, I don't know. It depends on the person, but I think doing like side projects is really fun. So I just happen to have more money. So if you are like me, then you have to think about that. But if you literally are just going to sit on the beach all day, then yeah, you could do these fully optimized like tax-free methods that they're talking about here. But it's just something to consider. What did they consider here? Special consideration. If you're unable to max out both IRAs and employer tax accounts, evaluate whether you want to contribute to an employer tax account over an IRA. But always contribute the matching contribution. While IRAs are more flexible, typically with more investment choices and less withdrawal limitations, 401ks lower your MAGI for immediate tax savings, but sometimes 401ks have poor investment vehicles and expensive administrative costs. Again, when I was talking about this with the HSAs, it should be illegal to have like a very expensive 401k with administrative costs. Like, Jesus, that's just like not fair to people. But again, I don't make the rules. Like, sorry about that. If you have access to a 457B, many say that 457Bs are more valuable than an IRA due to the lack of the 10% withdrawal penalty on 457Bs. All right. So I guess if you could have that, then like go ahead and do that. I personally don't, so I've never really read up on those. Now we're on to the red section. This one is after-tax 401ks, education accounts, taxable accounts, and low-interest loans. So again, for me, the way I see it, I have a way to take out 100K tax-free every single year if I'm married. So right now it's just like 50K. So I always prioritize my after-tax accounts. So one of my friends who did FIRE along with me, and we had like very similar numbers throughout the years, his was mainly in 401ks, mine was mainly in after-tax accounts. And he was always impressed with how much money I had in my after-tax account, because obviously that's after paying taxes. So again, I'm not really affected by the capital gain stuff because I'll just take it out slowly over time through the tax gain harvesting, but it definitely takes a little bit more brain and more execution than the other things. But does your tax account provide an after-tax 401k with immediate rollover into a Roth account? No. Evaluate if you want to do a 529 or ESA for educational expenses for your future generation. And then for that, you want to contribute to a taxable brokerage or extra to your low interest mortgage. All right. What if it's yes? Max out the after-tax 401k up to the combined 66K limit and roll over into a Roth 401k or Roth IRA if possible. This is known as a mega backdoor Roth IRA. Oh, remember how I was talking about that before? This is not to be confused with the backdoor IRA. Yeah, definitely something you should look into if you want to keep everything in the pre-tax accounts. Again, I like after tax because I feel like there's more freedom to it, because you could literally do anything you want on it without a penalty. So if I ever wanted to invest in some companies that like are a bit obscure or my own projects, like it's much easier to do that with after tax money. So I'm actually glad I have most of my stuff in after tax stuff. So contribute to a taxable brokerage or extra to your low interest mortgage. And yes, I know that people can buy houses with their 401ks. I don't want to go through all that paperwork. I just want to show up with the money and just do whatever I want with it, because I want to do more than just houses. I have like all these random things. Like I can't pay this programmer with my 401k, for example, but I could do that with my after-tax money. So evaluate paying off low interest debts below the prime interest rate. So I personally wouldn't do this. Like, I guess you could if you want to be completely debt-free, but like it sure is easier to like live your life that way because you just don't have to think about stuff. So if you want to like turn off your brain, which you could, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but yeah, pay off all your debt, go watch Dave Ramsey, you know? But if you want to like have more money throughout your whole life and put in like just like an ounce of more effort, then just keep the low interest debts. Like, I don't know, you just get such a higher return everywhere else that do what you want. It's not my life, you know? Evaluate whether you are interested in a donor advised fund if you make charitable contributions. Ooh, I actually don't know what a donor advised fund is. Give me a sec. So donor advised funds are charitable investment accounts that allow donors to make contributions to charities over time. Donors receive an immediate tax deduction and can recommend grants from the fund. DAFs are maintained and operated by a Section 501c3 organization called a sponsoring organization. Donors can contribute cash, securities, or appreciated assets. So the advantages are you get immediate tax deductions, potential reduction in capital gains taxes and estate taxes, and a simple, flexible, and tax advantageous way to give to charities. So my question is, can you still control the money in it? You could also pass it on to the next generation, apparently. All right, let's see some of these other things. So according to ChatGPT, the reason why you want to do this is because you could advise when you want the money to be distributed, or you can also advise on what things they invest in. So I guess there's some freedom there, but ChatGPT says that the organization has like the full say. You can only like advise on it. Not really sure what that means. It probably depends on the agreements that you kind of make, but I'm not going to pretend that I know something about this, but it does seem something that I would kind of be interested in, because if there was a way I could donate to something, but still manage the money until they actually need the money, for my specific situation, that would be very useful to me. So I kind of learned something new from this Reddit thing, which I'm actually surprised about. So I thought I knew most of the stuff that I needed to know. Obviously, there are things in here that I didn't know about, but they don't really apply to my situation. But there was one thing here that I could actually kind of take away from. So that's very interesting. And then lastly, make sure you rebalance all your portfolio's assets according to your IPS frequently, minimizing fees. Okay, screw the IPS. Just do whatever you want, man. Like, holy cow. You just use your brain every time you look at your money. Like, is that really that hard? While avoiding if there are any taxable events during rebalancing, i.e. selling stocks in the taxable brokerage account. I just noticed they didn't really mention the taxable brokerage accounts that much. They mention it a little bit here, but they don't say like, oh, you should put like everything there. You should put nothing there. You should put half your stuff there, which I think would be a little more tangible for people to use. Because if you're using the flowchart, you're probably not wanting to use your brain that much, and they're forcing you to kind of use it. So that's a little bit difficult. But overall, like I'd give this like an 8, 9 out of 10. It does what it's supposed to do. Gets your juices kind of flowing to think about certain things that you wouldn't necessarily think about. And yeah, as a basic thing, it would be very helpful for most people, I'd think. But always adapt it to your own situation, because no one online can ever write things for your specific situation. So you always have to read what people say, adjust it to what you like, adjust it to your area, adjust it to your risk tolerances, everything. And a lot of times you might look at things and be like, oh, I'm disadvantaged because other people get HSAs and I don't, or something like that. But always look at the advantages that you have too, because a lot of people kind of overlook that or take it for granted. But I'd say for a Reddit guide, for a sub that has like 2 million subscribers on it, I say this is pretty good. Normally, I don't like subs that are too popular because they normally get overflooded with too many new people, and then like the discussions just get like super, super bad. If you want to do fire stuff, go to either like Fat Fire or Lean Fire. I think those are both really good. They both get a little extreme sometimes. Like on Lean Fire, people are like making their own soap and stuff to save $1. And then on Fat Fire, like everyone has like $50 million for some reason. So I look at both personally because I like taking from both, but it's definitely Even if it's not perfect, it's definitely better than like the regular financial independence sub because it just gets too big. Any Reddit that gets too big, it just becomes like echo chamber, and like you can't even like say like, oh, I found $100 on the ground, should I pick it up? They say like, no, you didn't, or they're like, it could be poisonous or something like that. And it's just not healthy to like read about, in my opinion, at least. But all in all, like, not a bad guide. What did you all think about this? Are you going to do some of the parts from this plan? And also, like, did you learn anything? Were there things that you didn't know about before? If you are experienced, let me know down in the comments. Also, I don't even know, are people watching this already fired up, or are they like trying to do it, or are they already doing it? So I'm kind of interested in that. I think when I was reading Most Fire stuff, I was like in the process of doing it. And then afterwards, I like stopped looking at it. Maybe in like the first 2 years, I was like really active in it. But I hope that I make content that like pretty much everyone in all stages can kind of use. So I'm definitely kind of try to do that. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this video, and I'll see you all for a new video every single Monday. If you want to know more about my investment strategy, because I talked about that a lot in this video, check out this video over here where I go over my entire method and also reveal what's in my portfolio.